Welcome to the Savage Executive Podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I am your host. And I am someone who is a practitioner who spent over a couple of decades helping leaders build organizations that are financially healthy, operationally strong, and lead with wisdom. This show exists for the faith-driven leader, the CEO running a growing business who wants to do it right, the executive pastor overseeing a complex ministry, the nonprofit director trying to build something that lasts. If you carry the weight of leadership in business or ministry, you're in the right place. And I'm glad you're here. Okay, before we jump in, could you do me a favor? Could you make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast? If you're on YouTube right now, please subscribe to the channel and like the episode. It's how we grow together as a community. All right, let's get into it. Your hiring manager knocks on your door. She's got a candidate she wants to bring on, a really good candidate, but she needs your approval. You tell her, let me think about it. She leaves. It's Monday. By Thursday, the candidate takes another job. Your hiring manager tells you on Friday. You could have hired that person. You didn't need to think about it. You just needed to decide. But you didn't. You delayed. Or this, a vendor proposal comes in, a tool that could save your team 15 hours a week. The cost is reasonable, but you've got questions. Not big questions, just small questions. You ask for more information. It takes 2 weeks for that information to get in. By then, the promotional pricing has expired. The deal's different now. Or maybe your sales leader comes to you with a customer negotiation. They want a volume discount. I think we should do it, but I want your input. You tell them you'll get back to them. You don't. Not for a week, 2 weeks, and by then the customer has moved on to a competitor. Maybe it's your ministry team that comes to you with a program launch. The timing's right, the community need is clear, the budget is small, but you want to be sure. You say, let me pray about it, but are really hesitating making a decision. And while you're making yourself sure, the season passes. The volunteer who would have championed it moves on and the window closes. Last week, we found your bottleneck. Maybe it's a process, maybe it's a person. But here's what I know. There's another bottleneck that you probably haven't found yet. And that bottleneck is you, your decision-making speed, your velocity. Every time you delay a decision, you're slowing your entire organization. Your team's waiting, opportunities are waiting, cash is waiting, and the longer you wait, the worse the decision becomes because more of your opportunity window closes. Most leaders treat decisions as moments of perfect clarity, like you need to have 95% of the information before you move. You don't. You need about 70%, and the other 30% you learn by acting. The organization that wins, the companies that grow, the ministries that expand their impact aren't the ones that make perfect decisions slowly. They're the ones that make good decisions quickly and then execute hard enough to make them work. This is called decision velocity. And it's the difference between leaders who expand their organization and leaders who get stuck waiting for perfect information that never comes. Decision velocity has 3 different components: classification of the decision, a process for making it, and a full commitment once it's made. Let's quickly break each one of these down. First of all, is the classification, type 1 and type 2 decisions. Not all decisions are created equal. Some decisions are reversible and some aren't. And that changes how you should approach them. A type 1 decision is irreversible or nearly irreversible. Once you make it, you can't easily undo it. These are the big ones: buying a building, firing a key leader, entering a new market, selling your company, in ministry, merging with another church, launching a new campus, ending a major program that's been a part of your identity for years. These deserve careful thought. A type 2 decision is reversible. You can change your mind. If it doesn't work, you pivot. These include most daily operational decisions: hiring a person, choosing a vendor, implementing a new tool, trying a new marketing channel, running an experiment. In ministry, it's launching a new small group model, trying a different outreach strategy, bringing on a part-time staff member. Most of what you're agonizing over today is reversible. Here's the problem most leaders have. They treat type 2 decisions like type 1 decisions. They need all the information. They need absolute certainty. They wait for perfect clarity, and while they're waiting, they're missing the market. Let me give you some specific examples. A hiring decision is almost always type 2. You can fire someone if it doesn't work out. That takes time and it isn't fun, but it's doable. Yet most leaders agonize over hiring for weeks. I'm not saying hire poorly. I'm saying do your best with the information that you have. Most people take interview after interview, reference after reference, when really after 2 good conversations, you probably know enough. You're treating a type 2 decision like a type 1. A vendor choice is typically type 2. You can switch vendors. It's friction, but it's not permanent. Yet organizations spend months evaluating software, building spreadsheets of comparison, negotiating terms, when really most solutions are similar enough. Pick one, try it. If it doesn't work, switch. A pricing change is typically type 2. You can change your price again if the market rejects it. Yet CEOs agonize. They model, they forecast, they worry, when really you could test the price, see what happens, and adjust based upon real data instead of hypothetical projections. A market entry decision is type 2 if you do it right. Start small, test the market, learn. If it's not working, pull back. You haven't destroyed the company, but many leaders treat it as type 1. They need the business plan perfect, the market analysis complete, the financial projections bulletproof. Meanwhile, their competitors are already in that market learning what actually works. Here's the classification test. If you could reverse the decision within a month or 2 without major damage, it's type 2. Act fast. Get to 70% information and move. If reversing the decision would fundamentally damage the organization, it's type 1. Take more time, get to 95%. The ratio matters. 80% of your decisions are type 2. Get good at making them quickly. 20% are type 1. Spend the time on those. How do you actually decide? Now that you know what type of decisions you're facing, you need a process. For type 1 decisions, I would recommend having a structure. First, define the problem clearly. What are you actually deciding? Not vaguely, specifically. Should we expand into European markets? That's vague. Should we open an office in London as our entry point for Western Europe with an initial $2 million investment and a 2-year commitment? That's specific. Second, identify your stakeholders. Who needs to weigh in? Not everyone. The people who actually have context or who will be responsible for executing. Get them in a room. Have a real conversation. Third, set a clear decision deadline. This is crucial. Without a deadline, decisions expand to fill all available time. You'll keep gathering information forever. Set a deadline. Maybe it's 2 weeks out. Maybe it's 30 days. But there's a line. On this date, we decide. Fourth, gather what you need. Use those 2 weeks to get real data, financial analysis, market research, reference calls, whatever matters for that decision. Then fifth, it's time to decide. When the deadline comes, you decide. Not perfectly, as well as you can with the information that you have. The decision maker has the authority and uses it. Then sixth, communicate clearly. You tell the organization, here's what we decided and why. Here's how we'll measure success. Here's what will happen if it's not working. For type 2 decisions, you compress all of that into a 24-hour rule. You have 24 hours. What information do you actually need? Get it. Who needs to weigh in? Have a quick conversation. Then decide. Not perfectly. You're not trying to. You're trying to get to a solid, defensible decision made so your organization can move. 70% information is plenty. Here's how it works in practice. Your sales leader comes to you. We want to run a test. Use a new sales methodology for Q2. If it works, we scale it. If not, we go back to what we're doing. You ask the 5 questions. What's the cost? It's small and manageable. What's the risk? It's low. They could go back to the old methodology. How will you measure it? There's some specific metrics. Who's running it? There's a strong person. What's the timeline? 90 days. Decision point is clear. And you say, do it. That's a type 2 decision. 70% information made fast, moving forward. Most leaders overcomplicate this type 2 decisions. They write them down. They think they're going to decide later. And they have this list of decisions that they don't get to because they're not even accumulating the information. They have paralysis of analysis. They want more data. They want more consensus. They want to de-risk something that's inherently about learning. Stop. Get enough information to be confident you won't blow up the organization, and then move. Lastly is commitment, full commitment, not hedging. Here's where most leaders lose. They make a decision, then they don't commit to it. They hedge. They keep an escape route open. You decide to go to market with a new product, but you don't fully staff it. You keep people's time split. You don't fully market it. You're kind of trying it. Or you make a hiring decision, but you don't fully integrate the person. They're the new thing, so people don't trust them. You don't give them real responsibility. Or you decide on a price, but leave room for negotiation. So every customer negotiates. Your sales team knows you're not committed, so they don't defend it. In ministry, it sounds like this. You launch a new outreach initiative, but you don't give it real funding or real bandwidth. You're testing it. You're not launching it. Your team reads the ambivalence. They execute accordingly. Partial commitment kills more initiatives than bad decisions do. I'm serious. A fully committed, mediocre decision will often outperform a half-hearted, great decision because the organization rallies behind it. If you don't hear anything else in this entire podcast, I hope you got that statement. A fully committed, mediocre decision will often outperform a half-hearted, great decision because the organization rallies behind it. They see you believe in it. They execute with full effort. You learn faster and you're able to adjust faster. But a half-committed decision, the organization feels that ambivalence. People do the minimum. The initiative sputters and it doesn't get a real chance. Once you've decided, you commit. That means you resource it properly, you communicate the decision clearly and the rationale behind it, you set clear metrics for success or failure, and you defend it against critics internally, and you stay committed long enough to actually learn if it's working. It doesn't mean forever. If the metrics show it's failing, you pivot, but you don't give up before you give it a real shot. Commitment is what transforms mediocre decisions into wins. Several years ago, when we were in the middle of a COVID shutdown, we were faced with a type 1 decision. But because of the nature of that timing, that type 1 decision was very difficult for us to walk through because we were completely shut down. The type 1 decision was the possibility and potential of purchasing a building that would allow us to expand. It would allow us to meet the objectives of what we felt like was in our vision for the future. As we continued to mull that decision over, we decided to gather as much information as we possibly could, as quickly as we could. We ended up having a bank that was very soft on helping us. So we got information from another bank and a commitment from them. We were able to purchase this twin building to a building that we had already purchased several years before and had employed within our ministry. And we were able to purchase this through Zoom meetings, through a lot of information that was gathered without in-person conversations. And we were able to do it at a time that most people were looking at us like we were crazy. But we were committed to the long-term perspective of what we were doing. And because we were able to make that purchase at that time, it allowed us to expand our private Christian school into the largest private Christian school in our state and really our entire region. If we had hesitated to make that decision because the timing wasn't right, because of all of the reasons that we would have hesitated to make that decision, we probably would have missed that opportunity forever. And now it has been used for the last several years and is a big part of what we do every single day. Proverbs 15, verse 22, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Notice what this is saying. It's not saying more information is always better. It's not saying analyze until you're certain. It's saying get wise counsel. Get multiple perspectives. Then you're positioned to succeed. The emphasis is on counsel, not analysis. Counsel means perspective, wisdom, experience, other people seeing what you might miss. Not always more data, not endless information. A savage executive builds a network of advisors, people who've done what you're trying to do, people who see your organization from different angles. That's true whether you're running a $20 million company or leading a ministry with a $5 million budget. Wise counsel isn't a luxury. It's a biblical strategy. You run your type 1 decisions by your advisors, not for permission, but for perspective. Then you decide. The Proverbs says, plans succeed with many advisors. Not that advisors make the decisions, they inform it. You lead. The other part of this is knowing who your advisors are. You can't just ask anyone. You need wise counsel. People with skin in the game or deep experience. People who'll tell you the truth, not what you want to hear. For type 2 decisions, you might not need counselors at all. You need trusted stakeholders. For type 1 decisions, you need advisors who've been there before. But in both cases, you don't hide from counsel. You actively seek it, and then you lead, you decide. So here is your action step for today. This week, I want you to classify your pending decisions. You probably have 3 to 5 decisions sitting in your queue right now. Write them down. Whether you lead a company, a ministry, or both, this exercise works the same way. For each one, ask, if I made this decision and it turned out wrong, how hard would it be to reverse? If I could reverse it within maybe a month of work or minimal damage, it's type 2. If reversing it would seriously damage the organization, it's type 1. Then for each type 2 decision, give yourself 24 hours. What's the critical information you need? Get it? Make a call, decide. Document the decision and move on. For each type 1 decision, set a decision deadline, maybe 2 to 4 weeks out. What information do you actually need to feel 80% confident? Outline it. Get to work. And here's the key. Don't let the decision drag on past your deadline. When the date comes, decide. Imperfectly, if you have to, but decide. Because the cost of indecision is always higher than you think. Write down which decisions are type 1 and which are type 2. Share it with your leadership team. Get alignment, then move. We've got the decision velocity framework available to you. You can email me at steve@savageexecutive.com. It's got the classification guide, the type 2 24-hour process, and the type 1 decision template. Use it, reference it, send it to your team. Whether you're in a boardroom or a staff meeting, it works. Hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I want to thank you for being a part of the Savage Executive Podcast. Will you share this with a leader who needs it right now? I'm Steve Smith, and this is the Savage Executive. I'll see you next week.